RB Roughnecks. What do you think is a non-negotiable for the players in the next CBA negotiations? I believe it will be no more than one preseason game, or it will be lesser holdout penalties. Look, we can talk about non-negotiables all you want. They don't matter. You know what matters? What matters is the NFL will shut the sport down for a year and the players won't. So whatever the last best offer is from the league, the players will take it before it's time to start missing games or game checks. Unless they have some sort of organic personality change as a collective body, it doesn't matter. They can huff and puff, and at the end of the day, the league's going to make their last offer, and it's going to be take this or miss football, and they're going to take it. So everything else is just a hypothetical exercise. It doesn't matter. What matters is how far the league will push it. And I think they are going to push it. 18 regular season games, 16 international games per year. And we're not doing 50-50 anymore. 50-50, no, you're making too much money. Here's what we'll offer you. A 10-year salary cap. Here's what it's going to be in year one. Here's what it's going to be in year two. Here's what it's going to be in year three. Look at the numbers go up and up. But they're not going to go up like they do when we share 50% of the money. We have too many expenses. We have to pay all the expenses out of our end. It's too expensive. It's too expensive to pay the expenses. That's coming. Oh, that's coming. I don't know that, but yeah, I kind of know it. And I definitely believe it. They're going to squeeze the players financially. And at the end of the day, they're confident the players are going to take the last best offer. That's why it's critical that they get an executive director who will inspire the players to stand up and fight. And I say to that, good luck. Chiefs Glazer, is this the end? Oh, this is dark. Is this the end of the NFL? Do they become the NBA and the players get too much power? Can the players countersue their own PA? Look, a lot of conflicting messages there from Chiefs Glazer. It's not the end of the NFL. There is a massive imbalance in power as it stands between the league and the players. And this is another example of how the fans line up behind the laundry, line up behind the billionaires, fall in line to do the bidding of the oligarchs. There is a massive imbalance, and it's unfair to the players. And it's okay for the players to get a little power. It's okay if they get a little power, but it's not going to be easy. Now, I don't know that the players will pursue any rights against the Players Association now that Lloyd Howell is gone. We'll see. We'll see. But again, it's an issue of player apathy. It's an issue of players not being engaged, not caring. It's been that way for years with the NFL. We'll see if it changes. Stephen Peterson, let's pretend you are the new head of the NFLPA. What's the first thing you're pushing for? And let me just be clear. If I haven't already been clear, because I had somebody say to me today, hey, you should be the head of the NFLPA. I don't want it. And it's not a bit. I do not want it. I would not do it. I don't want it. I'm comfortable with my life. I'm happy with what I do. I don't want the pressure of having other people's interests riding on my decisions. I don't want that. I lived that. It's over. It's done. I know how to do what I'm doing. No one else's interests are riding on what I do. It's all on me, and I can deal with that. I don't want to have to worry about whether or not I'm making the right moves for anyone else. And frankly, I'm not interested in representing a group that doesn't care enough to stand up and take charge. Like, I know what I would say to a room full of player representatives or rank and file. I know what I would say. I know what I would tell them. That's a lot of the stuff I say sitting right here. They don't care enough for me to even begin to consider turning my life upside down to try to represent people who aren't going to stand up and take charge of their own financial collective interests. And I get it. I understand why. I've got 4 years to play pro football. I'm not giving up one of them. I understand it. It's a tough spot. Tough spot. And for a variety of reasons, that included, I want absolutely nothing to do with it. But if I were to somehow end up in that position, if they were to make me an offer I couldn't refuse, I'll tell you what the first thing I'm pushing for is I'm pushing the hell out of this collusion grievance, because the way that the CBA reads, you can expedite this process of getting a ruling. I want to take my chances. I want to shoot my shot with the 3-person panel that's going to consider the evidence that is going to be argued to them from everything that was obtained as part of the collusion grievance, because I think the evidence is strong enough. to find not just that the NFL Management Council, with the blessing of the commissioner, urged teams to collude. I think the evidence is strong enough to conclude that they did. And I think there should be a punishment for the league, even without the finding of actual collusion, just the attempt to collude, like attempted robbery, attempted murder, attempted this, attempted that. That has a sanction in criminal law. Why wouldn't attempted collusion have some sort of a sanction? So I would push the hell out of that, and I would not settle it for anything. I got a tiger by the tail. As I wrote yesterday, you got the tiger by the tail, by the legs, and by the balls. You are going to get everything you can out of that collusion grievance appeal. I would push that as hard as I push anything. That would give me power. That would give me leverage. That would give me a way, because if I have a rank and file that won't take a work stoppage in order to get the best possible contract, how about we generate some leverage? How about some leverage in the form of a multi-billion-dollar arbitration award against the NFL? How about that? That's leverage. That's what I would be pushing for. Another one from RB Roughneck. CJ Stroud is due for a new contract. Lamar is still not extended. Could these two holding out for fully guaranteed deals force the hand of the owners? Looking down the barrel of a 3 and 4 win season without your franchise quarterback seems like a brutal premise for an owner. Let me start with Stroud. Stroud can't get a new deal yet. Stroud holding out would be pointless because by rule, there's nothing the Texans can do. After the regular season, and it's not playoffs. And one of these years, a guy is going to demand his new contract after the regular season ends and before the playoffs starts. A guy who becomes eligible once the regular season ends. Stroud becomes eligible once the 2025 regular season ends. He won't be holding out. Lamar is a different story. And look, I don't know what Lamar is going to do, but he could hold out and say, I've read this collusion grievance. I think you guys screwed me. I think the NFL colluded against me. I think I should have gotten a 5-year fully guaranteed contract. So I want one now, and I'm not showing up till I get one. I think it was Chris Long who said one thing that could change all of this is if a high-profile quarterback would draw a line and say, I'm not playing. Lamar could be that guy. I just don't think he'll do it. See, the problem is the quarterbacks are thinking about their legacy. They're thinking about their desire to compete. This is all part of why players don't want to shut the sport down. They want to get paid. They want to play football. And the great ones are pursuing something bigger than that. It's hard to do. It's another reason why there's an imbalance. One other point. This whole issue of guaranteed contracts as it relates to quarterbacks, and I think we've mentioned this before, but the truly great quarterbacks don't need guaranteed contracts. They're going to get their money. An agent told me that years ago. And if they get cut, they're going to land somewhere else. Hey, the Colts finally cut Peyton Manning. You know what happened? They lined up out the door to sign him. And he could have named his price. He was more in demand than any free agent's ever been. Maybe since Reggie White, maybe ever. Logan Mapes, if the Super Bowl can't go pay-per-view because of the antitrust exemption, because it's on free TV, how come the NFL can get away with select games, including the playoffs, on paid services like Netflix and Peacock? Is it based on providing a certain number of free games per week? That's kind of it, Logan. You're on the right track. There's a delicate balance that the league is trying to strike here. And there was a hearing a couple of months ago before one of the Senate committees about streaming of sports. And Ted Cruz talked about how the NFL walks right up to the line of what it's allowed to do under the antitrust exemption. I think the NFL believes these piecemeal, one-off, pay-only games. And look, they always make the games available for free in the local markets. We're putting the game on Amazon. We're going to have, if it's Steelers-Browns, it's going to be available for free on an over-the-air channel in Pittsburgh and Cleveland. They've been doing that since they started going to cable for the Sunday Night Football package. Back when it was on ESPN. In the local markets, the game is also broadcast on a free network. They didn't want to get down this path of denying people, especially they always focus on the local market. We're going to give you the games, all the games of the team in the local market, unless it's blacked out because they didn't sell out the tickets, but that's been gone for a while now. That blackout rule died a very quiet and necessary death. So I think they can take some liberties on the fringes. If it would ever be something significant, like the Super Bowl. That I don't know where the line is. I know the Super Bowl's on the wrong side of it. You make the Super Bowl a pay-per-view event with no one other than the local markets of the two teams involved getting it for free. That's when the antitrust exemption is dead. But as I said yesterday, if the antitrust exemption ever goes away for other reasons, that's when the door opens to pay-per-view Super Bowl. Joshua Barnes, do you ever miss practicing law? As someone who takes the bar in about a week, I couldn't imagine walking away willing. Now, first of all, Joshua, if you're taking the bar in a week, bro, what are you doing? Don't watch this. What are you doing responding to tweets, asking for questions? No. Your professional interests are riding on passing that exam. Every waking moment. Joshua, listen to me. As soon as I finish talking, close your computer and get to work. You're trying to pass this bar exam. So I've taken two, one in Pennsylvania, and then when my wife and I moved to West Virginia, I waited just long enough that the 200-question multiple choice thing you have to take that is transferable from state to state, the window closed in West Virginia, so I had to take the whole expletive deleted thing again. And I know what I did when I was getting ready for the bar exam. Now, there was no Twitter at the time. There barely was television or telephone. There wasn't cell phone in 1991 or 1993, the 2 years I took the bar exam. But man, this close to it, Joshua, I appreciate your support. Don't watch. You can catch up after you take the bar next week. And I don't miss. Now, every once in a while, I'll catch wind of a case and I'll think, man, I'd love to argue that. Just like the collusion thing. I'd love to argue to a jury based upon the Dean Spanos, Michael Bidwell text messages, based on the Greg Penner internal communications with his partners, where he's like, hey, the other owners will be happy with this. I would have loved to have said to a jury, this guy used to be the CEO of Walmart. Do you think there's a single email where he says, oh, Target's going to be very happy with this? So I would have had so much fun with that. But a trial is a culmination of months, years of work and fighting and depositions and expense and uncertainty. And again, I had enough of carrying around worries about whether or not I would be good enough to get my client what my client needed. And for me, and this was the good thing and the bad thing about being busy in the practice of law. If you win a trial, you've got no time to kick back and enjoy it, especially if you practice alone, because to win a trial means to have set everything else in your practice aside so you could focus only on that trial. Just like Joshua, you should be focusing on the bar exam. And then you got to go back and dig out all the stuff that you got to catch up on because you've been focused solely on that case. So you can't savor the victory, and you also don't have time to wallow in the defeat. Either way, the trains are rolling at you in multiple directions, and it's nonstop and it's stressful. And again, I like this business because I am not advocating for anyone's interests. There is nothing that I say or do that's going to affect anyone else. I mean, I guess if I would say something that would cause the whole thing to go belly up, I would affect the PFT staff members, but that's still far different from being in an adversarial process where you have to make the right move at the right time, say the right thing, avoid saying the wrong thing, make the right assessment. What's this jury going to do? What's this judge going to do? What's this argument going to make? Should I appeal? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I? I don't miss it. This is much better. Kyle Jacobs, when are you coming back to Sky? We miss you in England. We miss you here in West Virginia. And I think, from what I've heard, I think we'll be back on July 28th on Sky Sports Action, which, assuming there is a longer-term deal in place between Sky and the NFL, will become Sky Sports NFL when the season starts. And PFT Live will be on 2 hours per day. They should be putting PFT PM on there. I just heard yesterday for the first time that PFT PM's on Peacock. That's news to me. If I had an agent, my agent would be saying, they probably should be paying you for that. But I don't have an agent. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.